I'm Gordy Tupper. Welcome to Check Around. Boy, do we have a jam-packed half hour of information for you today. We're going to go back up to Sybil Verch's office and talk a bit more about your money, how you can possibly make a little more money perhaps. We're going to talk to the guys and gals at Newport Realty about buying a home and possibly making a little money along the way there too. And because running season is only 3 weeks away, can you believe that? We're going to drop in and try to catch up with Rob Reed, which isn't the easiest thing to do, at FRONTRUNNERS. Find out about buying some sneakers. Running shoes. At this time of the year, Rob Reed, do people run even at this time of the year?
Oh my goodness, we live in Victoria, Gordy. Running's great all year round here. So
no matter what, do you have studded shoes for the icy days?
Well, yeah, we can do that. We can do anything, but we don't need it here in Victoria. It all melts by noon. So
you are the icon of running and running shoes, in fact, in Victoria. I want to get some tips here because
sure.
Well, Christmas time is here. I don't know. Can you buy somebody shoes for Christmas, or is it more of a gift certificate thing?
Not everybody gets shoes for Christmas, but I think it'd be a good thing because
really,
yeah, because we've got a lot of shoes to sell.
Fair enough.
But the main thing is, come the new year, people want to get off and running.
Well, that's it, because I mean, running starts in January.
Exactly. We've got the Island Race Series that's starting in January, and we've got a New Year's Eve run happening the last night of the year. Yeah. So there's runs all the time in Victoria.
Okay,
so
most people focus on the 10K coming up in the spring.
That's true.
And
yeah.
Again, now's the time to start training.
All the clinics are starting for the 10K.
Yeah.
Times Columns 10K. So it really makes a difference getting the right shoe. And it's really important that you go to an outlet that has a lot of selection because everybody's foot's different.
Okay.
And sometimes we feel like we need to blindfold people, so they buy them for their foot, not their eyes. Right?
Well, yeah. How do you do that when the colors are so vibrant these
that's
days?
what they've done. They've made them very, very vibrant. So,
but I mean that. Now I'm just going to interrupt you. That must come a lot into the buying decision. People go, well, I like the feel of this one, but I like the style of that one better.
There's such a difference between the shoes, and it really comes down to what kind of feet you got on.
Yeah.
And if you're overpronating or supinating, high arch, low arch,
yeah.
right? Any foot problems you have, what sort of mileage that you're planning on doing, okay? And there's a lot of shoes that are in the training category, and then we have shoes in the minimalist category. But for pavement running, you want to be safe and just get something reasonable with enough cushioning for that sort of 3 to 5 times your body weight, 1,200 steps a mile. That'll make a difference.
Wow, you know all the stuff.
Well, 35 years in the business, Gord.
So this is women's road running. So This is your basic running shoe here.
It's the safest thing. When you're starting, you don't want to overcorrect anybody with their biomechanics. No. So a lot of the shoes are going to be neutral through the midsole. And that means they're not posted with any sort of correction to stop that foot from rolling and absorbing shock.
Is that what these things here?
Exactly. So if I've got a real flat foot and my feet tend to pronate or roll to the inside, the medial part of my body, then you want to go with a posted shoe. But you really got to experiment and try different things on. This one's just a basic neutral shoe, hard to go wrong with for a lot of people. Not one brand's better than the other because it really comes down to fit.
Really?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, you carry them all, so it doesn't matter, does it really?
Yeah, it helps, yeah.
But now, just to get away from that, running shoes, now you have walking shoes over here. Well, walking shoes behind me, I guess it is.
Yeah.
There's a big difference. You don't want to run on a walker and vice versa?
Not a huge difference. I mean, for walking, you're still great in a training shoe.
Yeah.
But if you're doing a lot of trail, we can get more aggressive with the outer sole, so you're getting traction. It might be waterproof as well.
So like if you were going to do the Elk Lake run, for instance, you might want to go to a rugged or more rugged shoe?
More rugged shoe. If you're spending 80% of your time on a trail, then maybe a trail shoe is the way to go. But if you're mixing it up, just stick with a training shoe.
Yeah.
And that'll be more versatile for trail and or road and pavement.
I'm starting to get the impression that you should probably have a couple of different shoes for different activities.
You could work for me, Gord. That's really good.
No, but I mean, seriously, that's the case though, isn't it?
And the thing too is, we're going to have women's shoes from size 5 to size 12.
Yeah.
Men's from size 7 to, even 15, 16, right?
Holy crap,
so
who wears that?
You could put your whole family in here, sort of thing, right? Old women in a shoe. And then the widths are really important because women's widths will go double A to sort of a 2E width, and for men's B to a 4E. So, it's really important that we get width sizing as well as just the length nailed down pat.
You know what I'd like to do? If we could come back in a couple of minutes and maybe see how the whole deal is, of the whole process of getting fitted for a shoe.
I think that'd be a good thing. Okay, let's do that.
We're with Sybil Verch of the VERCH Group of Raymond James, and I wanted to find out, I was going to ask you about demystifying investing, and you said, let's talk about what women want. And I thought, wow, there's a good question. What do women want when it comes to investing and financial planning?
Well, men and women are different in the way that they look at life and they look at money and they look at finances and what's important to them. And so our experience has been that women want to make sure that their needs are met.
Are men different from that?
Well, men do want their needs met too, of course. But when it comes to women, it's not all about business. Men typically are more, let's get to the point and what's the plan and how are we going to invest and how are we going to make money. That's important. But women want to spend a little bit more time to make sure their needs are heard, that they're understood. They want someone to establish a relationship with them and know who their kids are, their grandkids are, what's important to them, what makes them tick. And they're looking for a connection with an advisor on a much deeper level to make sure that their goals are clearly understood. And we love that. We're an all-female team, so we understand better than anyone what women want.
Now, what precisely do women want? Do they want things that are different from what men would be wanting? Planning?
I think planning's a big point. It's a big part of it. Women don't like to wing things. Now, these are all generalities, of course, and there's some exceptions to every rule. But generally speaking, women want a plan. They want to know that things are organized. 80% of women today run the household budget and finance. They pay the bills.
This is all sounding very familiar.
Yes, it is. But the majority of households today, it's still the men who make the decisions on long-term financial planning. So we feel that it's important to empower women to take more of a role in that part of financial planning.
And that's what you help people with when they come in?
We do. And women tend to get bored easily over a lot of numbers and facts and figures. Not that they're not interested, but how does that relate to them?
All right, now we're talking about what women want, and you're explaining it as you would to a woman, and I'm thinking, huh? I mean, it's not relating to me very well. So I mean, it really is different. I mean, what you're saying is valid.
It is different, and a lot of men actually bring their wives in to meet with us because of that. And you'd be surprised. There's a lot of men who actually do want the same thing, but maybe aren't so comfortable asking for it.
Well, that's true. That's very true.
Like, do you ask for directions?
Never.
See?
I turn off the GPS because it has a woman's voice on it.
Well, there you go. So we provide a really comfortable setting where both men and women can come in and work with us, and we can put a plan in place to help them feel comfortable about their future.
Okay, now we've talked about what women want, but I still want to talk about demystifying investing. Can we come back in a second to do that?
You bet.
Okay. We're back with Sybil VERCH we're talking about women investing, but women and men, how do you know what's a good investment? How do you start investing?
Well, there's not an easy answer for that.
Okay. I was kind of hoping there was one thing I could write down.
I'll get to a couple of secrets later.
Okay.
But the reason it's not so easy and there's not one size fits all is everyone has different goals and different risk levels. And when it comes to investing, you want to make sure you balance out the rate of return with the amount of risk you're taking. So a really low risk investor, and women typically tend to be more conservative investors than men, the lower the risk, the lower the return potential. The higher the risk, the higher the return potential. So maybe men are a little bit more excited to roll the dice and gamble
It's that Viva
a bit.
Las Vegas,
yeah,
guys.
let's go for it.
Okay.
Let's go for it. And women want to make sure that they've planned and taken care of their family. Of course, men do as well, but there are some differences there. So when it comes to investing, without identifying what the goals are and what the risk level is, I can't really just give you a straight answer.
So there's like high risk, low risk. What is a high risk investment?
High risk investment is the chance of losing your money over a set time period. The shorter the time period you have, the higher the risk is. Now I'm going to explain that further.
Okay.
If you invested, Sybil, I just sold my house, here's $500,000 to invest. I would like to buy another house within the next 6 to 12 months. I would recommend that we keep that ultra conservative and probably just put that in a high rate savings account because you don't want to lose your money. You know you're going to need that in the short term.
Right.
If you said, here's $1 million and I don't need this money for 20 years because this is going to be part of my retirement plan. Then we could look at some higher return options where in the short term, they may go up and down, but over the long run, they're going to go up. And if you can go through that volatility, you will make more money in the long run.
Now, I gather you have a number of different portfolios available in various high and low and medium risk and what have you. And do you do that for the people, or
Yes.
do they have their own self-directed
No,
investment?
so we work with clients and customize each portfolio for them to specifically meet their needs and match their risk tolerance. Now, I will tell you the one secret.
Okay, because I want to know a secret.
Everyone wants to know. The secret to making money is buy low and sell high.
Oh, that's too easy, though.
I know, and guess what? Most people fail at it miserably.
I bet.
Human nature is they want to buy when things are high because that's when everyone's making money and it feels good. And they want to sell when things are low, which is the wrong time to sell.
Do you have to be a high roller to do that, though? I mean,
No, and my team does not do any high risk investing. We take a very conservative approach. We're looking at achieving the goals and we want to do so with the least amount of risk possible.
Sybil VERCH from the VERCH Group here with Raymond James Limited. We've talked a few days now about investing in estate planning and what have you, but if you really want to know the bottom line, people have to come in here and visit you personally.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Sybil.
Thank you.
I'm sure glad to see that you got your early Christmas gift certificate for new shoes. That's great. Yeah. Well, that's good.
This is the size of the gift certificate. We're back at FRONTRUNNERS. Julia has come in, actually, unsuspectingly, to buy a new pair of sneakers, and I won't ask you any questions. I'll just let Rob do this thing here, because I'm curious how it all goes.
I was meant to grovel at your feet. It's a good place to be. So I'm going to get you to stand up for a sec and just bend your knees for me. So when you're weight bearing, what we're seeing is that your arches aren't totally flattening out, but it's not that we would say you've got a high arch as well. And if you did have a high arch, your foot would sort of stay more laterally to the outside of your foot when it's weight bearing. But being it's a flatter foot, bend your knees for me again. We can see that it slightly rolls in, but we don't want a lot of correction in a shoe. Something neutral, just a good shoe on your foot. That's
So you can tell by this whether she pronates or supinates?
Yeah, and then we could, do some walking, but looking at the foot and then making sure we're not overcorrecting anything. Just undercorrecting is the way to go. But it's really important. This is a Braddock device, and they've been around forever. And if we look down on the women's sizing, we're coming in about 7 to 7.5.
Holy smoke, you got big feet.
No, come on.
No, I'm kidding.
Let me check your left foot. We're not always symmetrical, so one foot's a little longer than the other.
Oh.
But, you have to
choose.
choose
Is that common?
Well, it is, yeah. And you got to choose your parents wisely, if you want to win a gold medal. So we've got what we've got, and we've got to deal with it. The other thing, too, is if we look at width, we're looking at a B to C width. So we want to make sure there's enough generous width, because your foot will flatten or spread out a little bit as the weight rolls to the forefoot, which is very important. So what we want to do is try a couple shoes on and see how we're doing. All right, so trying a shoe on, you want to get both on because one foot's always a little different from the other. And in a lot of cases, we will blindfold you, as I said earlier, because we want them to get you for your feet, not your eyes, right?
Do you have any color preference, Julie?
None at all.
Okay.
Now we'll lace them up, but then you can always correct that. And I'll get you standing when we have them on. That way we can see how the length is. And you want to be able to wiggle your toes. You don't want the shoe to be too tight or feel like there's any strangulation happening as far as the
How long
lacing
would
and
you
everything
normally
goes.
take with the person to fit a new pair of shoes?
Well, at least, a good half hour to an hour,
What?
depending on,
Really?
Well, we have a lot of shoes that we have as options. And you really want to be happy if you're spending all those hours in a shoe. So how's that feeling for width and length? You can wiggle your toes a little bit?
Yeah, it feels good.
That's great. You're going to run the Island Race Series this year in the Times Collins 10K. You'll be running them fast with those on, or a half marathon. That's great. So what we would do is send you out, but you don't have to leave right now, but we would send you out for a run around the block, as long as you leave something notable with us. Oh, you don't have to leave all that, no.
If you can't get in before Christmas with your actual feet, get somebody one of these, I'd say. Do they come smaller?
They do, yeah.
Okay,
All
excellent.
sides.
Rob, Reed, thank you very much.
Thanks, Bertie.
Julia,
Take care.
enjoy your new shoes.
Thank you.
I like the color.
We'll see you on the road.
Welcome back to the show. We're at Newport Realty in Fairfield, the happy place. Everybody seems very happy in here all the time. I'm not sure what they do in here most of the time. I'm with Patricia and Noah, and you know, when you're buying a house, unless you're a lawyer maybe, you wonder what the heck you're doing. You sort of sort that stuff out for your customers, I guess, Patricia.
I certainly try my best. We all do here at Newport, and things have changed so much over the last 32 years since I entered the industry. It used to be relatively simple. It's gotten more and more complicated. There are a lot more pitfalls, more things to think about.
You don't just say, look at the house sign on the dotted line?
Not anymore. Not anymore. It's better now, but it's there's just so much more complexity now. And so my job is to educate myself as well as I possibly can. And we have a wonderful real estate board here in Victoria. I think it's probably one of the models for Canada. And we are expected to take a minimum amount of education every year, and at any given week there's just so much more that we can add to our repertoire voluntarily from the real estate board. My job is to take as much information as I possibly can, to interpret it for my clients, and to help them make the best informed decision that they can.
What kind of things do people need to look out for these days that you would help them with?
Well, things that didn't crop up decades ago are things like buried oil tank, which can just be an absolute nightmare. Aluminum wiring, asbestos insulation, and asbestos in the glue that holds down in linoleum. Typically, as you know, Victoria has a lot of wonderful old houses, but those wonderful old houses come with their own special brand of problems.
You're frightening me talking about these things, but I mean...
I will make it easy for you, Gordy, I promise.
That's the important thing. You have to be pretty sharp doing this, but I mean, it's important to watch out for this because like that buried oil tank thing could cost you a tremendous amount of money.
Oh, over several levels of government, just depending on what's going on, whether or not it's leaking. Oh yes. So it's incumbent upon us to be as well informed as we possibly can, and that's my job. And my job is to deliver the information in a way that isn't going to scare the pants off my buyers.
Okay, to avoid the buried oil tank, you could buy a condominium.
Yes, you could, Gordy.
Now, Noah, what is the condominium market like? Is it still a good buy to buy a condo?
It's a very good buy here in Victoria. It's a wonderful way to step into the marketplace. There's certainly a lot of product available, be it newer product coming out of the ground or some older established product, but it's certainly a wonderful investment here.
Now, it makes up quite a bit of the market, I guess, does it? Condos and strata title homes?
Yeah, it certainly does. And if we look at sales for last month, for example, we're looking at a third of all of the sales that happened in Greater Victoria were in strata homes. So that includes condominiums and townhomes.
That's pretty significant, though. I mean, that's a pretty big chunk of the market.
It is, and generally, you'd probably see that throughout the year. We certainly see it here in our office at Newport Realty. If we had 90 sales last month, we would have had probably 30 or 35 of them being strata properties.
So if you're looking for that first-time home and you can't quite afford that first-time home,
yes,
the condo might be the way to go.
The perfect step into the marketplace, strata home.
Noah, Patricia, thank you very much for this. Another eye-opening experience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're at Newport Realty. In fact, look at all the realtors up there, hey? In Fairfield. Now, in previous shows, we've talked about various aspects of real estate. Today, condominiums, and Ingrid is with us. Ingrid, what are the important things to look out for if you're buying a condominium?
Probably the most important is getting into a good quality building, one that has had a depreciation report. That's now going to be mandatory by the middle of December. Every building will have to have a report done, or they can decide not to. But that would be one building that would give me some red flags if they chose not to do a report.
How do you know what's a good building and not, or is that your job?
That definitely is one of our major roles, is to guide our buyer and provide them with enough information. A depreciation report is generally done by an engineer, a professional, and they take an inventory of the entire project and forecast it out 30 years to see what needs repairs, how much should be budgeted for that. Some buildings aren't fully funded right now, so they're going to be having a hard time kind of matching up to where they should be in terms of the engineer standard. And certainly that's something to look out for. And don't always get too excited about low strata fees. That generally is another red flag.
Well, you see a lot of people saying low strata fees. Some say no strata fees. So you kind of wonder about stuff like that too.
No, it has to generally be enough that is being contributed to the fund so that you can be guaranteed that the building is going to have a good lifespan and be well looked after and cared for. Not unlike what homeowners should be doing, but you know, most of us, if the roof leaks, that's when they decide to get it fixed. You know, not a lot of people are putting away for a rainy day fund or their own homeowner's maintenance.
I would think one of the things to watch out for, and here I am giving pointers, and it's not my place to, is how many renters are there in the condominium development? Because some places you move in and it's all renters, and you go, oh, well, I'm the only owner here. And
yeah, and that definitely plays a big part of what the community feel is of a condo. Most buildings, if you have owner occupied, they're really going to kind of embrace the community, embrace the building, really look after it well. Not to say that, you know, renters don't have that same care and attention, but certainly that's the factor. What I try to do if I'm touring with clients and I'm in the building, and if I'm riding the elevator or see someone in the hall or the stairway, and I asked them, I said, oh, you know, are you living here? Do you like it? You know, what is your feel for the building? And that's really a great indicator to get an idea of the pulse of the building.
are there any really serious red flags that you should watch out for?
Definitely, you know, the depreciation report, a low contingency fund. And, you know, do your homework or have your realtor do the homework for you. Find out who the original developer was and what year it was built, and definitely those are some of the key factors.
I'm thinking here at Newport Real Estate or Realty that you are sort of the condo expert, it sounds like.
I do have a background. I've worked over 20 years with Jall Developments, primarily doing the residential condo development and sales. So that is my background, and I live in a condo. I downsized from my house, and I love it. The lock and go lifestyle gives me a chance to have a little bit more free time, although being a realtor these days, but no complaints. Everything's great, busy, and you know.
I love that, the lock and go lifestyle. Ingrid, thank you very much for this.
Thanks, Gordy.
Well, that's just about it for today's show, and well, who has the brightest shoes in town? You'll see me coming tonight, won't you? That Rob Reed, what a salesperson. Thanks for being with us today. You know, this is our last show before Christmas, so Merry Christmas in advance. We'll have probably an encore show on during the holidays, and then all new check around starting in January. Have a good one. Gotta go try these out now.